Welcome to another episode of The Undeniable Expert, where we show experts exactly how to prove themselves to be authorities to the people that could pay them, as well as we show individuals that are looking for experts where the real experts are. So, this podcast is usually made up of me talking about things that make up experts through authority content, and I'm also interviewing experts and they're giving their tips and their strategies on how you can thrive in their respective industry. So, in this episode, I'm going to be talking about 3 types of content that are killing your brand. So, if you are an expert and you're trying to figure out how to separate yourself from the crowd, if you're an expert and you're trying to figure out how do you elevate yourself and elevate your prices, this is definitely the episode that you want to tune into. So, 3 types of content. I'm going to go into this, and then I'm going to go into a short soliloquy about content and how it's all misconstrued. So, just so you get something from the beginning, from the jump, the first type of content that kills your brand is inconsistent content. We're going to be talking about that. The second type of content that kills your brand is incoherent content. And the third type of content that kills your brand is inconclusive content. Now, let's talk about content really quick. First and foremost, people have been saying for a very long time that content is king. You've heard that before, right? Well, if you've tuned into me long enough, you know that I believe that that is a myth. Content is not king. Here's why. If you have somebody that nobody knows sharing really great content, it's just really good content, maybe. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, doesn't make a sound, it probably makes a sound, but there's nobody there to hear it. So if you're sharing really good content and nobody's there to see it, is it really good content? Is it the king? The king of what? Here's what's king. Celebrity is king. Now, a lot of smart people that I know have said, no, that's not true. All of that is absolutely true. If you tweet something that is super deep, super insightful to your 1,000 followers, maybe a few people will like it. Former President Obama tweets the exact same thing. It's different. See where I'm going with this? Celebrity is king. So what does that mean to us as it relates to not creating the type of content that'll kill our brand? Well, first and foremost, you have to identify who your audience is. And most people, specifically those that sell services, everybody is not your audience. Everybody is not in your audience. So you're not going to be a celebrity to everybody. You're going to be a celebrity to the people that can actually pay you. So when you're sharing out content, you have to keep in mind who the audience is. Write this down if you're able to. If you're listening to this, come back to this. The audience you want is the audience that is willing to pay. That is willing to pay. Sure, there are other nuances and there are other things that you're going to be looking for to qualify people to be your customer, but who is willing to pay? And you have to walk back through that. And there's other episodes that I have that I talk about how to define your audience and all that good stuff. This is not for this particular episode, but who is your audience? Who is your audience? That's why whenever I start my podcast, I say, hey, this is an Undeniable Expert podcast where we show service-based entrepreneurs, where I talk to that person. So you call that person out or call that group out that you want to speak to so that when you're creating content, it fits them. So it doesn't have to go viral, but it does need to be valuable. It does need to be valuable. So 3 types of content that are going to kill your brand. We're going to go deep into this. Then I'm going to tell you the number one content that you should be creating. The number one content that you should be creating. Going to be talking about that at the end. So first and foremost, inconsistent content. Some people share stuff and consistently. And I know social media is a lot. I understand that. It's a whole lot. So much things, there's so many things going on. There's so much to look at. But you should look at your social media channel as a legitimate channel. When you pull up your phone, that's channel Odell. That's channel Andy. That's channel Justin. That's whoever, whatever your name is. That's that channel. What's going to be, what's the episode for today? You have to be consistent. It doesn't have to be every day. But I want you to keep thought of a couple things. And this is something that really hit home for me recently. How often do you want to get paid? How often do you want to get paid? Most people spend money every day. So they probably want to get paid every day. So even if you don't go live on your social media channel, you should schedule something every day. I believe you should schedule something multiple times a day. Because why not? And the tools make it super easy for you to schedule it. Specifically on LinkedIn, you can schedule stuff out. Facebook, depending on your profile, you can schedule stuff out. Instagram, you can schedule stuff out. Just schedule it. So think about your favorite show back in the day. It used to come on once a week. You remember TGIF, right? Once a week, every Friday. That lineup, Full House, Family Matters, or Boy Meets World, or whatever it was, that was coming out every week. So it doesn't have to be every day, but think about how often you want to get paid. And then also think about the type of content that you want to share. I want to talk about that. So be consistent. Most people aren't successful, not because they're not talented, not because they're not intelligent, they're just not consistent. So be consistent with your content. Also, incoherent content. That's the second type of content that is killing your brand. Incoherent. I can't follow you because you want to speak from the heart and you're everywhere. You're rambling everywhere. I remember one of my pastors, he's passed away now. He used to ramble, but he was so good that he would ramble and then come right back to the point. So much so that I don't even know if he was really rambling versus he was doing that on purpose. Most people aren't like that. Most people, you need to stay on point. You need to have 3 points whenever you're sharing content. And again, I'm going to share with you the type of content that's going to allow you to separate yourself from the competition and elevate yourself. But be coherent. And not just coherent as it relates to making sense, but coherent as it relates to making a point that makes dollars. So I'll give you an example. So the Undeniable Expert podcast is something that I record normally in my studio, in my home studio where I am right now. But then I'll go into a professional studio and record it. And when I do that, I invite other people in to record with me. And I normally do that around our marketing and branding summit. So then I can charge people to come. So when I'm making this content right now, when I'm recording this, it's really like a dog whistle for the people that, oh, Odell, the stuff that he records is pretty cool, blah, 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 blah. Like, hey, I'll be recording in Dallas in a week. You should meet me there. Okay. It's coherent. It's consistent. It's coherent. Make sure that it speaks to the audience you want to speak to. So if you're selling houses, call out that person that maybe you want to help a first-time home buyer. Maybe you have something that could help them. You want to coherently talk to that person. I remember when I was a first-time home buyer. It was so hard. I didn't know what would be rejected. I didn't know what would be accepted, but I was able to Inconclusive. What's next? You create content and nobody knows what's next. People do whatever. And this is something that I'm still learning in business, but I want to make sure that you learn it at the highest level that you possibly can. People need to be told what to do on a regular basis all the time. I'll say it again. I paused for effect, but I need you to get that. People need to be told what to do on a regular basis all the time. All the time. And I used to reject this. I'll be honest. I used to reject this. I used to think, well, I don't really need to be told what to do all the time. I'm pretty ambitious. I'm a leader. I'm a type A type of person. I'll do whatever needs to be done without somebody telling me what to do. You might be like that too. But here's the truth of the truth of the truth. Thinking burns mental calories. The fewer mental calories you have, the more stress you have. The more stress you have, the more difficult life is. So, if I'm telling you what to do on a regular basis all the time, you don't have to think as much when you tune into my content. You know, at the end of this content, I'm going to say, hey, you should join us for our marketing and branding summit in Dallas. Depending on when you're listening to this, our next summit might be coming up now, or it might have just passed. Make sure you get on the wait list to join us for our next one. And then I go back into it. Or I have a web class coming up. Make sure that you join the web class, or I have this, or whatever. Most people, if you don't know by now, whenever I'm on, I am selling something. And I'm going to give you some sort of directive. It might be a soft directive, but it's going to be some sort of directive. So make sure that you give people on a regular basis, you tell them what to do. Because if you don't tell them what to do and your content is inconclusive, they won't know what to do. They won't figure it out. Most people, unless they really, 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 really want what you have, they won't figure it out. Which leads me to the last point of inconclusive content. Most people don't know what you do unless you show them and tell them a lot. Most people don't know what you do unless you show them and tell them a lot. I've been a professional speaker full time since 2013. People have paid me to speak full time since 2013. I've been doing it part time since 2008. Most of my family still kind of doesn't know what I do. And they definitely don't understand the model of it. Oh, he writes books, he speaks, and yeah. They can't explain to somebody what I do. I have to consistently show them and tell them. That's why if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see pictures of me speaking. You'll see pictures of me in the studio. You'll see me going live and talking about the different marketing and branding packages that we offer and stuff like that. You'll see that showing and telling. So as far as inconclusive content, make sure that you're giving them a call to action and make sure that you're overstating what it is that you do. Does that make sense? That leads me naturally into what is it that we do? What is it that we do at Get Known Marketing? Again, my name is Odell Bazell. You should probably know that by now if you're listening to this episode of The Undeniable Expert. But if you don't, I am the founder of Get Known Marketing, where we help small business owners and service-based business owners specifically create authority content so that they separate themselves from the competition and elevate themselves in the eyes of the people that can pay them. That's what we do. And we have our next marketing and branding summit coming up. Actually, the next one is coming up in a few days, but the one that we have opened up for our wait list is in November, as of this recording, November 8th through the 9th. So if you're interested in creating authority content, if you're interested in up leveling your marketing so that you're marketing to a more specific audience and an audience that pays more, make sure you check the link somewhere around this video. If you're listening to this on our podcast, and it'll probably be in the show notes. If you're watching or listening live, it'll probably be in my bio or somewhere in the description. So make sure that you do that. This is the last thing I'll say before we jump into the ending. Authority content is the content that you want to create if you're looking to elevate your business and separate yourself from everybody else. Authority content, the way that we teach it, is content that shows you as an authority. That's either you on a camera or you on a very well lit, nice stage. So you on a camera, a nice camera with good lighting, maybe even in the studio, podcast studio, TV studio, something of that nature. You need authority content to establish your authority because people look you up when they find out about you. Some of you have found out about this podcast because you looked me up. Somebody said, hey, Odell does that. Odell does that. And you look me up and you're like, wow, okay, cool. He really does do this because I see him, blah, 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 blah. You need authority content because everybody has content on their phones now. Everybody has Zoom content. And a lot of people can create a studio like I have in my home. But when you have a professional studio, when you have somebody interviewing them, it makes you think, okay, this person really must know what they're talking about. And that's what we do at Getting On Marketing. We teach how to get authority content, but we also get it for you. And for our clients that are on retainer, we create it for you on a regular basis through virtual interviews and in-person interviews and all that great stuff. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you reach out to us. You can go to gettingontv.com and find us online. But that is the episode, y'all. And like we always say here, we'll see you at the top, not from the top. Take care. Bada bang, bada boom. IG